by the American astronomer Asaph Hall in 1877, and it's named after one of the sons of Ares, the Greek counterpart of the Roman god Mars. Phobos is a small, irregular rocky object with a crater-scarred grooved surface, a roughly ellipsoidal body. Phobos measures 26.6 kilometres, that's 16.5 miles across. At its widest point, it revolves once around Mars every 7 hours, 39 minutes, at an exceptionally close mean distance of 9,378 kilometres, that's 5,827 miles. And it's in a nearly circular orbit that lies only 1 degree from the planet's equatorial plane. It's in an equatorial orbit, which is very unusual. I don't know if I've left my little PowerPoint clicker at the back somewhere there, but if we can see it, we can bring it up if we can find it. I can manage without it, but it's just handy to have it. Okay, so these are just NASA images. We've got Phobos on the left here, and you can see, if you zoom into this, I haven't got to zoom in on this, but you can actually see here things going at right angles. You've got these lines intersecting at right angles. And this object, as I say, is only 16.5 miles in length, so it's quite small. Vesta is the second largest and brightest asteroid of the asteroid belt, size equivalent to a sphere with a diameter of 526 kilometres. So you can see similar lines along the equator there. What's causing these lines? Some people would argue that it's actually what's happening is rocks landing on the surface and rolling around and scraping the surface, because Phobos has what they call microgravity. Because it's such a small object, it's got very weak force of gravity. I don't know where that thing's gone. It's in my pocket. Put it down somewhere. Later. And is Phobos hollow? This Russian scientist, Samuelovich Slotsky, thank you, calculated the orbital motion of the Martian satellite Phobos and came to the jaw-dropping conclusion that the moon is artificial, hollow, and basically a Titanic spaceship. But Slotsky was not the first one to believe this. First to put this forward, his ideas that the Martian moon Phobos, generally accepted as a celestial body, actually may be an artificial satellite launched long ago by an advanced Martian race, was Dr. S. Fred Singer, special advisor to President Eisenhower on space developments. No mention was made of the other Mars moon, Deimos, however. So isn't that strange that somebody, this was in the 60s, I forget when this chap, 63 I think it was, 1960s, someone else, 1963, Raymond H. Wilson, Chief of Applied Mathematics at NASA, joined Slotsky and Dr. Singer in their Martian conclusions. He stated that Phobos might be a colossal base orbiting Mars. Isn't that interesting? 1963, well, let's fast forward. Precise mass determination and the nature of Phobos. That was the name of this letter by T. Piander to P. Rosenblatt, M. Paxold, B. Horsler, V. Dehant, G. L. Tyler and J. C. Marty. It was received December 3rd, 2009, revised 8th March 2010, accepted for publication 22nd March 2010, published 7th May 2010, Geophysical Research Letters, Vol 37, L09202. So this is a scientific journal that this was published in. We conclude, in their letter, that the interior of Phobos likely contains large voids, large holes, large spaces. It's hollow. When applied to various hypotheses bearing on the origin of Phobos, these results are inconsistent with the proposition that Phobos is a captured asteroid. That means it didn't naturally come into orbit around Mars. Someone put it there. Or that they don't say that, but that's an alternative explanation. Now, a lot of people sort of latched onto this story in the 60s, and then later on, 1992, we had this story came out, the demise of Phobos 2. They said that the Russian Phobos 2 probe was going towards Phobos. It intended to land on the surface, fire a laser beam at the surface, take a sample, and find out what it was made of. And then this picture was widely circulated at the time, that this was a beam, or a missile being fired from Phobos towards the probe, and then about 20 minutes after that picture was taken, the probe failed and they never heard from it again. And that was a story. I'm not going to read it all out because it goes on quite a long time, but this was by Don Eckert, UFO Magazine, Volume 7, Issue 01, 1992. It's been widely circulated, that story, but they suggested that this thing was a UFO, this missile, or it was a missile or something. But if you actually look at the sequence of images in their original form, not in a sort of rough photocopy, I've got an animated GIF here. This isn't a missile, it's a digital artifact. It's some type of error in the camera sensor or some slight overload. You see, it always stays in the same place. Remember, this probe is moving at high speed, as is Phobos, but this thing is staying in the same place. You're getting static noise and stuff, and so forth. So this is a digital artifact. It's not a missile. Why the probe failed, we don't know. But to go around saying that this was a missile fired from Phobos because it's a space station, it's not that. It wasn't a missile. Phobos might be a space station, but it doesn't look like, in this case, this was the cause of the failure of this probe. And then they also claimed that there was this image of, a strange image of a disc-shaped object on the surface of Mars that was photographed around the same time as this. But this is actually the shadow of Phobos. And this image is available on the ESA website, and that's what it is. This is what because Phobos is very close to Mars, it casts quite a big shadow on the surface. And that's an example of it there. And then you get the good old bastion of British and indeed now global psychological operations, the Daily Mail, who appear to be playing a very strong role in putting some of this stuff out there, mixing it round, stirring the crap up, and seeing what falls out in people's minds. That's what basically the Daily Mail is doing. It produced this story in 2009, which I've got a clip about. Buzz Aldrin stokes the mystery of the monolith on Mars. And what you'll actually find is these images were shown on this article, and I've got some more on this on the next slide, and you'll see this wasn't quite as they had it. But here's the actonaut and liar, Buzz Aldrin, who I talk about in other presentations. Could have been a used car salesman. He talked about this. Let's see if it comes up. Are you going to work for me? Give it a minute. Try that again, no? Have some sound, please?
Sorry. Sorry. Very important.
Don't when you're ready.
Yeah. Habitation on the moon. We can visit other people with their habitation. We can keep track. If there's something very important to be developed from the moon, I'm not sure what it is right now. And I sure think we should identify what it is for America to make such gross expenditures, again, for human habitation on the moon. We can help. We can join with. Together, we can explore the moon and develop the moon. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there.
So why is Buzz Aldrin coming out and talking about this monolith on Phobos? What's he on about? It's like he's just dangling this carrot out there for people. Well, actually you'll find that there's a number of these monoliths, or so it seems. But the Daily Mail article that I was going to mention the extra details about, this article actually muddled together two completely different pictures of monolithic objects, one from the surface of Mars and one from Phobos. They didn't make that clear in the article. This is exactly what the Daily Mail does. It doesn't properly distinguish the details, and sometimes it just puts information that's completely false. So let's have a look at some of these monoliths in a bit more detail. Seems we might have more than one. And that image, as you see, I think 1998 it was taken, so it's not a new image. So what's going on? Why are they only starting to report this like 9 and 10 years after it was taken? And then again, we got 2 more images of this, something which was probably the same object or something which looked similar, but this time in colour and high resolution. Here's the image numbers from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and I made this into a little video so you can see where it was on this. In 2008 this was taken, 10 years later. I'd bet some money on the idea that there are people who know more than we know about what these are and what Phobos is or was. This is the other monolith which we saw in the Daily Mail article. This is actually not on Phobos, it's in Valles Marineris, which is on the surface of Mars. Here's the wide view, and the monolith is in this area, and here it is. This is the one that you saw, which does look like the 2001 monolith. Very strange that, hey, we'll come back to monoliths a bit later. This one, don't know what this was. I couldn't find the NASA image for this. I'm not saying the Daily Mail faked it. I wouldn't put it past them, but I couldn't find the image reference for this one. So now we're going to take a trip a bit further out in the solar system and see what's out there. On the planet Saturn, we've seen some mysterious things. For example, we saw these spokes in the ring system, according to the Voyager images, which came back in the 1980s. But when the Cassini probe got there in 2003, these spokes had disappeared. And this has become a little bit more known about. There's quite a lot made of this now, that this may be something to do with sacred geometry, hyperdimensional energy, energy coming from another dimension. This is persistent. You can still see this in images of Saturn today. This hexagonal, persistent hexagonal feature. I think it's, I can't remember if it's the north or the south pole of Saturn. This has been photographed multiple times. This video was released 8 years ago now, this one. And these storms appeared in December 2010. These massive storms, bigger than the Earth. What's causing these changes? So, just linking in briefly to climate change, climate change is not just happening on the Earth, it's happening in all the planets, if you look at the data from NASA and ESA. So, climate change is another lie. Hardly anybody talks about planetary changes when they talk about climate change, because climatologists are not interested in astronomy. So they don't even look at the data. And this is a high resolution of the hexagon image which was taken 2 and a bit years ago. Again, just the image references there. So what is this? What exactly is it? They claim to have explained this as some type of standing wave. I have seen a YouTube video with some fluid in a tank where it's stirred at a certain rate and they introduce it at certain points and this sort of thing. So, but do NASA airbrush images? Yes, they do. Here's the evidence. Now, what they basically said with this, I won't read out the whole article, but this was from Saturn, or the Saturn system. This is Titan in the background, and this, I think, is Dione. This grey-coloured moon is Dione, and this is Titan. The sort of browny-orange coloured moon is Titan, which has an atmosphere, largely of methane, I think. And if you increase the contrast on this image, and again the image numbers at the bottom, you can see that somebody has got, you can see the Photoshop brush marks, And what some people have claimed is that they were obviously covering up a spaceship or a UFO or something like that. The official explanation is that they did this as a composite image because they were done with different exposures. This was very bright and this was very dim, or the other way round. So they couldn't capture it as a single image, and they did a composite to make it look nice. So, well, fair enough, you know, if they want to make it look nice, sure, but make sure you tell us exactly what you're doing and how the image is created. And then this was discovered in May 2014. Rolf Olsen revisited earlier Voyager data and did a high-resolution composite of the atmosphere of Neptune, and this is one of the moons, I think, Triton, yeah, that little crescent there is Triton. This again is a composite image made in high resolution, made from I think about 100 images or something. And you can see here, he found this hexagon. So Neptune has a hexagon in its atmosphere too. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it certainly appears to me to be something to do with some impinging energy of some kind, which is not really that well explained right now. But again, that again was found by an amateur researcher. And let's see, yeah, I'm going to play the Saturn video now. I'm going to skip over that one and go on to the next one. Now, I'm not sure about this book. I'm a bit sort of neutral on it. This has been gone around the internet quite a lot recently. You can get a PDF of it for free. Ringmakers of Saturn by Norman R. Berggren. Now, he was a NASA scientist. He worked on one of the optical teams for the Voyager probes, I think. And he's greatly enlarged the Voyager images with an optical method, not a digital method. And he thinks he's found these objects in the rings which are actually helping to build the ring system. That's why he's called it Ringmakers of Saturn. And this was a video, I didn't make this video, it's about 3 minutes long. Some of the weird stuff that's been picked up on Cassini images. So these are all images from the Cassini probe. Quite a lot of these, he does put the numbers on. They're not all shown. Some of the later ones, these are all the image numbers there.